Welcome to the 3 for 3 podcast. He is Alex Podfather Gullett. I am Paul Teach Nelson, and with you at home, we are 3 for 3. That's right. Today is the college football special. We had week 0 last week. We got week 1 this week. No NFL football, all college football. Podfather, how you doing, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Things are good. The week is almost over. We're going on vacation Thursday. So, the fam's good. I'm good. I feel good.
Man, vacation sounds nice. Vacation.
It's really
Wait,
nice.
you know who's not taking a vacation?
Who?
College football teams, baby.
They're not.
College.
They're not.
Love it. Listen, this is my second favorite sport, the NBA, college football. I know you're more of an NFL guy, so I am so excited to talk college football today. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's hit some threes, okay? That's what we always do. We hit threes. So let's start off with 3 dark horse teams. Podfather, why don't you give the fans at home 3 dark horse teams?
Yeah, perfect. Hey, listen, there's a couple that I wanted to talk about here that I think could be dark horses. I'm going to start out number 1. I'm going to go Kentucky. That's right. I'm going to go Wildcats. All right, Will Levis is gone. We know that. And they had a disappointing year at 7-6 last year. But they did rank as high as number 7 in the nation at one point. We can't forget that. And maybe they could turn it around into back into 2021 form. That year they had 10+ wins. And you know what? I like Mark Stoops. I'm sorry. I just do. I think he's a great coach. And so I'm going to say Kentucky number 1. And then I'm going to go Wisconsin. That's right. We're going to go Wisconsin. It's simple, right? Luke Fickell. Yeah, I love what he was able to do with the Bearcats, and I think if anything else, they're going to be fun to watch. All right, so they got Tanner Mordecai coming in at quarterback. They got Allen and Malusi and running back. That backfield's going to be dynamic. I love what they're going to be able to do, and I think they could really walk out of the Big Ten. They could be a surprise team. And for my third one, I'm going to talk about Texas. That's right. I'm going to go Longhorns. So the reason I like the Longhorns is this, and I know a lot of people are saying they're overrated, but there's a lot of continuity in Texas. Okay, a lot of returning starters, both on offense and on defense. Now, I know they lost Bijan. Welcome to the NFL. Can't wait to draft you next week. And, so I think that'll hurt. But Jonathan Brooks is great, and so is Jaden Blue, right? And so I like Texas, but that's my 3.
Listen, I love it. I also had Wisconsin. Luke Fickell, again, imagine what he can do now that he can, recruit for a powerhouse team. He's not at Cincy anymore. I love Mordecai. And one thing that Wisconsin does, they churn out O linemen. All right. That's always Luke Fickell was 57-18 in his time at Cincinnati. 57-18 at Cincy. That's nuts.
I think one year they went 13-1, still didn't make the college playoffs. But I mean,
well, they made it. They got destroyed.
That's what it was.
Destroyed by Bama, and then everybody said, "Hey, yeah, they shouldn't have been there anyway."
Yeah, they ruined it for everybody else.
That was Desmond Ridder going, maybe I don't want to go against athletes like this. Listen, I love those teams. I have some blue bloods as well. I got Notre Dame. Listen, everybody that watched week 0, them playing in Ireland, noticed that old man QB Sam Hartman, shout out Netflix QB1. As a 24-year-old, like a 7-year veteran for college now. He should have a doctorate already. But he is going to light up the stats. We could be talking about him later when we discuss Heisman. Penn State. This is a make it, break it year for James Franklin. So I love their weapons. I love the quarterback they have, young guy, Joe Adel. Sleeper. Let me give you a sleeper.
Yeah, you give me I don't have a sleeper. I went 3 on all of them. I don't have a sleeper, but you can go ahead and give a sleeper.
Don't sleep on Auburn. Listen, Hugh Freeze goes from Liberty to Auburn. He knows how to recruit the SEC. He was at Ole Miss. I just listen, before they vacated wins, he was 39-25 at Ole Miss. Yeah. This is in the heyday of Alabama. So yeah. They're my sleeper. I think they'll make noise. I don't think they'll make the college football playoff, but I do see them finishing in the top 25.
That's cool. Now, that's a great sleeper.
From sleeper teams to teams who could disappoint, why don't you hit the people with 3 disappointment teams?
So what's really funny is you went Notre Dame for a sleeper. My number 1 team on teams that could disappoint, I'm going to go Notre Dame. Now, why? Okay, because I was a Notre Dame fan for many years, and here's what I'm going to tell you from experience. Notre Dame and high expectations do not mix well. That's number 1, okay? Every time they go in, they're like, oh, yeah, they should be a playoff team. Never happens. And the schedule's brutal. So they got NC State, Duke, Clemson, Ohio State, USC, Pitt, Wake Forest. I can see them finishing in top 25. But is that really a good finish for a team that could have playoff aspirations, right? And so I'm going to say even top 25, I think is still a letdown. So They're number one. Number two, Tennessee. That's right, guys. I don't care. I'm tired of hearing it. Tennessee, Tennessee, Tennessee. You know why? Because I think Tennessee is going to rely so heavily on Joe Milton. I think it's all going to be about his arm. And I don't know about the kid yet. Like maybe, maybe not. And let me throw this at you for this kid to be a full-time starter. He's going to face at Florida. He's going to go to Alabama. He's going to go to Kentucky. And at home, he's going to have Texas A&M, Georgia, South Carolina. That's a tough run in the SEC. Tennessee, I think, could be a letdown. Number three, how could we talk about letdowns without at least bringing up the Buffaloes? That's right. Not the Buffalo Bills. I'm talking about Colorado. Okay, welcome Deion Sanders. I got a question. What if they finish with 3 to 5 wins? Now, they potentially play 5 top 20 teams this year. They have TCU on the schedule, Oregon on the schedule, USC on the schedule, Oregon State, and Utah. Deion, you got your work cut out for you, my man. What you got? What you got, Deej?
Listen, you are hitting all the right notes. I also have Tennessee as my sleeper team who could disappoint. So, and I had the same thing. Florida, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Kentucky are both going to be gritty.
Tough.
Like, this is the year I think they do take a step back after an amazing run, Cinderella run they had last year. Now, listen, you put my Notre Dame in there, so I'll see my Notre Dame and I'll raise you your Texas. Texas is always the team that before the year starts, it's, hey, Texas, they're back. You know, the old Brent Musburger, they're back. Texas is back. No, they're not, okay? They better be back. For Quinn Ewers' sake, listen, he feels Archie Manning breathing down his neck, okay? He was supposed to be the second coming of Pat Mahomes, and he's looked anything but. I have a couple other blue bloods. Florida State. Florida State is overhyped, okay? Every year, this is the year. This is the year they take over the ACC. Last I checked, Clemson still plays there, okay? Other than Clemson, Florida State should run the table. If they don't in a weaker ACC, then that's a problem.
You got Notre Dame, who could be a tough matchup.
Yeah. I mean, in the very last team, listen, shout out to Coach. Ohio State. There's a ton of quarterback questions. Is Nussmeier the guy? I don't think he is, but they still have the best wide receiver and college football player in Marvin Harrison Jr.
They possibly have the best duo of wide receivers that we've seen in the last 15 years in college.
They do. I don't think this is the last time we're going to be talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. on the show tonight. So listen, I can see. Listen, I don't think Ryan Day is on the hot seat, but we might have a couple other coaches that are on the hot seat. So who are 3 coaches you think could end up seeing a pink slip and taking their talent somewhere else after this year?
So we're going to run through these pretty quickly. Look, Miami is a historic franchise, a lot of wins, used to compete for a championship every year. You know, Mario Cristobal, he signed 10 years, $80 million contract. Like I said, in one of the most historic college programs that there is. Now,
Podfather, I'm with you. I got him on my list too, man. Listen,
look, $80 million is not a bad problem to have unless you're not winning games, right? And so another 5-7 season, and he could be out of there.
He was going back home, right? Oh, he's going back home. He recruited so well at Oregon. Nah, he's on my list too, man. Who's your second guy?
Yeah, so I went UVA, just homecoming. Tony Elliott. Look, it's been a tough few years in UVA, and they had a lot of things going on. Been a lot of things. The shooting happened. All this kind of stuff's been there since he's been there. But 3-7 is still unacceptable. We expect more out of the ACC. We'll see what UVA does.
I agree with you there. I had Jimbo Fisher as one of mine. Listen, Texas A&M, was he on your list?
He's third on my list.
I had Jimbo Fisher too. Listen, it seems like the title win with Jameis Winston was 1 billion years ago. Like it's the crab leg incident, everything. It's put up or shut up time for Jimbo and Texas A&M. I am so sick and tired of hearing him. He's the quarterback whisperer. Here we go again, right?
Well, I remember, and I put in parentheses. Yeah, that's right. I put in parentheses, I said, oh, how the mighty have fallen. Because you remember when he left Florida State to go to Texas A&M, there was this big hoopla about it. And then he finishes 5-7, right? And so, look, we'll see. But Jimbo, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I had Mel Tucker on my list, Michigan State. Listen,
yeah, that's a good one.
How many years? He had one decent season. I think he had 11-3 year. But how many years in a row are we going to watch them lose to the big 3? Okay, the Ohio State, Michigan, and if we want to put Penn State in there too, I guess
and Michigan State's such a they're such a glory football program. They're hard hitting. They run the ball well.
It is.
It's been a mess in Michigan State.
It is. My sleeper, man. I'm gonna ride your coattails, Deion Sanders. You know what is acceptable for the hype train after Deion brought it with him, and if he gets 3 wins, like you said, if he gets 5 wins, what does success look like? And if he has a 7-win season, Deion's already said, I'm about the money, right? So he might just dip out.
You've got it later on in the show where somebody was quoted saying, "Hey, he tried to trade beans and franks for beef Wellington overnight."
Yep.
And listen, if it doesn't work, and he came in there like stomping his feet, like I'm bringing guys with me, guys. If these guys don't work out, it could get ugly.
He talking to his player. Hey, I want y'all to leave. I hope you leave.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
that was the whole point was, hey, I hope you leave. If you're gonna be here, then fine, be here. But hey, it looks like you might leave, right? So why don't you go ahead and hit us with some defensive players to watch?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I went by names only. Okay. So defensive players to watch. I'm going to go number one. I want to go Dante Corleone. Why? Because he had the highest defensive rating in the country last year. He was a third-team All-American last year. He's a true force in the middle for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Plus, with a name like Corleone, you got to love him. You got to root for him. But anyways, I think he's a true disruptor on the defensive line. My second one, Chop Robinson. That's right. I love the name Chop also. And again, a lot about the name, but even more about the talent, right? Poised for a breakout year this year as one of the nation's best edge rushers, I believe. And if that happens, I think you said earlier, you mentioned Penn State earlier. I think they have a chance of surpassing Ohio State and Michigan as the best in the Big Ten. Listen, it could possibly happen if their defense comes alive. And this Chop Robinson is going to be a big play in that. Okay. Third, my last one, I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry. That's right, Kool-Aid. It's all about the name. So we got Corleone, Chop, and Kool-Aid, right? And by far the best name in college football. Not only the best name, but he's also the best cornerback. Okay, Alabama definitely has a cornerback up on the rest of the country with this kid. He's a supreme talent. Love the kid, love the name. So those are going to be three defensive players. I said we can watch it and take like anybody big name, but I love these guys.
We are 2 for 3 because on my list, who do I have? Dante Corleone. He was the highest rated defensive lineman since, let me go ahead and rattle off some names. Micah Parsons, anyone?
Yeah.
Vita Vea, anyone?
Yeah.
Quinnen Williams, anybody? Come on now. Like these are names, right? I had Kool-Aid on there as well. Kool-Aid, not only is he a dangerous threat in the return game, but this is a guy who's 6'1", 195 and can cover everyone.
Yeah.
Now, 2 more names for you, right? Jared Verse. I went with the name thing too. Second verse, same as the first, baby. He had a great first year at the next level at Florida State. He had a 24.5% pass rush win rate. So every 4 times this cat rushes, he beats the snot out of his guy, and he either gets a tackle for a loss, a quarterback hurry, or stomps somebody in the backfield. Okay,
that's crazy.
Now you said Kool-Aid, McKinstry is the best name in college football.
You don't believe it?
I see your Kool-Aid and raise you Storm Duck. That's it. Ooh, Storm Duck. The transfer from the 4-year player from UNC transferred. He's no longer a Tar Heel. The Storm Duck is a Cardinal. He's at Louisville. Listen, he's super underrated. He's projected to be a 2nd-round pick right now. Listen, I love Storm Duck. My wife's favorite player because he went to UNC and his name was Storm Duck.
That's crazy.
Let's flip it on over to the offensive side of the ball. Let's go skill position players to watch this year. Who you got?
This is great. Listen, I got a couple in there that not a lot of people are going to talk about, but I wanted to make sure we mention on the podcast.
I think we both are going to have a certain tight end, right?
Yeah, we both are definitely going to have a tight end, but I'm going to go Bucky Irving. That's right, the little guy out of Oregon. I love if they didn't share carries so much in Oregon, I think the guy could be tremendous. Here's why. I want to read you off a couple things. This kid forced a missed tackle on 50% of his carries or catches last year. That's unbelievable. And so love watching Oregon anyway. They're always a fun offense to watch, but I'm going to go Bucky Irving at number 1. Number 2, we talked about Ohio State earlier. Emeka Egbuka, right? Okay. This is crazy. Scary thing is he's probably not only the 2nd best receiver in college football right now,
but
going into the year,
but
he's also the 2nd best on the Ohio State, which is absolutely wild, right? Because they got Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other side. And so that means that he should be opened up plenty playing alongside Marvin Harrison. I think that's absolutely wild, right?
3 less catches than Marvin, about 100 yards less, but nobody talks about him. He was on mine. He was my sleeper, double E, baby. Wide receiver, Ohio State.
It's crazy. And then, of course, we're going to go Brock Bowers, right? How do we not go Brock Bowers? We can't even question who the best tight end in the nation is in college football. But you know what's weird is that he would probably be a top 3 to 5 tight end in the NFL right now if he played today. Okay, that's how special this kid is. That's what he does in Georgia. And so, Hey, Brock Bowers, that's my 3. We're going Bucky Irving, we're going Amika Ibuka, and we're going Brock Bowers.
I love it. I had Brock Bowers leading off, man. He could be the best tight end prospect to come out of college football. He's better than Kyle
Ever.
Pitts. He's more experienced than Kyle Pitts was at Florida, right?
I agree.
He's a better route runner than, for all of us old heads, Kellen Winslow Jr. used to be the athlete. Everybody would say you can't beat him one-on-one. He's going to win all his matchups. This is a guy who's a complete package at tight end. He is Gronkowski. He is Gronk. Okay. He's a mashup of Kelsey and Gronk. If he is not a top 5 pick in this draft, I don't know what's going on.
It'll be crazy.
Got a couple running backs. Blake Corum, Michigan, probably the best running back in college football.
I agree.
He needs to work on his hands, but listen, he's gonna go be in tandem at Michigan with Donovan Edwards. They have a great running game, and then Jace McClellan from Alabama.
Yeah,
we have seen Alabama running backs be the guy for the last 3, 4, 5, 7 years since Mark Ingram won the Heisman.
That's right.
He is the next guy in this long line of Alabama running backs. Alabama's quickly becoming running back you. So
most recently, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, 13th pick in the draft, right?
Crazy, yeah.
Look at all the Derrick Henry. I mean, there's a ton of Alabama running backs.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Najee Harris,
they're successful.
I got a question about Ohio State. Now, you talked about Double E, right? Emeka Ibuka. Are we seeing at Ohio State this new iteration of, listen, Alabama had John Mechie III, Devontae Smith, Heisman winner, and Jalen Waddle, who might have been the best wide receiver on that team.
Definitely.
Remember hey, we're doing paper, rock, scissors, see who gets the go route and gets the touchdown. Are we going to see that at Ohio State? It could be this year.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting because they got a new quarterback stepping in. We'll talk about him in a little bit. I got him on one of my notes, and so it'll be very interesting. But I think it really doesn't. I think it's not going to matter much who's throwing the ball because those guys are just that good, right?
Could be. Now let's see it. We talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. a couple times. Let's talk Heisman hopefuls. Who's on your Heisman list?
Okay, so here we just talked about Ohio State. I'm gonna go Kyle McCord. Here's why. I know he's unproven, okay? But playing quarterback at Ohio State with the best duo that we may have seen in the last 20 years automatically puts him in the running. Like, I think automatically he's a long shot, sure, but automatically we have to say, look, if Ohio State's good and they win 10, 11, 12 games, they're in contention for the playoffs, he's going to play a major role in that, right? And so I think we got to put him in the running. I think we just have to. Next, I'm going to go Michael Penix Jr., okay? This kid, transferred out, went into Washington. He only led the entire the nation in everything. He averaged 357 yards passing.
Yeah.
It was just crazy what what this kid did. And so he also, has a 1,000-yard receiver in Rome. What is that, in Dunze? However you want to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced 12 different ways on TV.
Mr.
Right?
Husky.
Yeah, Jalen McMillan. So they're all returning alongside Penix in 2023. I think that's going to put him right on top of the rankings. And of course, we got to go Caleb Williams. Why? I'm going to read you a couple stats. Almost 5,000 yards last year, 52 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. My only question is, there's only been one person to win it twice, right?
Yep.
So are they really going to give it to him again? But I think if he has another year like that, how do you not?
Yeah, listen, Archie Griffin won at Ohio State, 74-75.
Running back.
I think that I follow one rule, okay? If you are the Heisman favorite, you're probably not going to win it. If going into the season, you're the Heisman favorite, you never win it. Listen, Andrew Luck was the Heisman favorite. Robert Griffin won it, right? Peyton Manning was the Heisman favorite. Charles Woodson won it. So I think Caleb Williams should be the Heisman favorite, which means he's probably not going to win it. Listen, he's a great player. He should be on that list. If he won it again this year, it would not shock me. I have another couple quarterbacks. One's a sleeper. One is Drake May, quarterback for UNC. If UNC makes some noise, Drake May is Caleb Williams without the press. He's
the next Daniel Jones.
Oh, he's 6'4", 229. He's better than Daniel Jones. He accounted for 45 touchdowns and over 5,000 yards of offense. Okay.
Absolutely.
And again, he's sneaky athletic. He's gritty.
Sneaky athletic.
We know what that means. He's
the
sneaky
next Daniel
athletic.
Jones.
That's it. So I think that was his first year in the offense. He's going to put up numbers.
He will.
If they get the wins, Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. could realistically be the first wide receiver since Devontae Smith to win it. It's going to take 1,800 yards.
Yeah,
it's going to take him playing all season, going crazy. I'm not crazy about Ohio State's quarterback. Again, I'm not sure he's the man. I do have a sneaky sleeper pick, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart used to play for the team where Caleb Williams is playing, right?
It's the second time this podcast you've mentioned him too.
Listen, I like Jackson Dart. I like Ole Miss. I think that they can recruit very well with Hugh Freeze, even if that means Hugh Freeze isn't paying anybody this time to do it, or he's paying them legally now.
Or that's right. I was about to say, oh, wait, he's not doing it behind the back.
You said, wait a second, he's a good boy from Liberty, right? Let's go ahead and put him there. So again, these are guys, we are going to keep updating this. I'm going to be teaching a couple classes as we go through, some Heisman class, some college football class. Let's make some predictions. Podfather, you're great with predictions, right? Let's predict the Final Four in the last year where we have a Final Four in college football.
Yeah, so this one to me, when I started looking at it, I said, okay, there's some teams that I really like, but there's some teams that are just head and shoulders above everybody, and they have been the last couple of years. Okay, so I went with a repeat of last year. It's hard for me to change it until they're beaten, right? So give me Georgia, give me Michigan, give me Bama, give me Ohio State.
Wow.
And so I just think, John Harbaugh, he's got a situation going on.
Jim
Harbaugh.
John's got one too, though.
Both Harbaughs have a situation, but we're going to go talk Jimmy right now, right? So he's got a situation going on. It's going to be kind of crazy over there. But you talked about it earlier. That running back room is absolutely crazy. And the defense is good too. And so I don't know who's really going to compete with them on that side. And then Georgia and Bama, when you really look at the SEC, unless it's Tennessee comes up big, or I mean, who's really? What are we doing?
Listen. I love your picks. I have a couple of them in there. I have Georgia as well. I think they are head and shoulders above everybody. Listen, if their new quarterback can just kind of go ahead and stay the course, they're going to be fine. They need to reload on defense, but I trust Kirby Smart.
Yeah,
he's the second best coach in college football. I know you have him first. We've talked about this before. I have Alabama going in. I think Alabama wins ugly this year. I think
there's been a lot of talk about Bama being overrated going into the year.
Yeah.
We tend to forget that they're Alabama. Let's not talk about overrated until they actually stink.
Listen, everybody wants to go ahead and say, hey, the Georgia dynasty's here now. The Alabama dynasty's dead. Don't bury Nick Saban yet. Do not bury him yet. He can win ugly. This can be one of those teams like, before they had Bryce Young, before they had Tua, before they had Jalen, before they had these Heisman winners, they're winning games with Greg McElroy.
That's right.
With A.J. McCarron. So let's not forget with Mac Jones. Let's not forget about that, okay? He just needs somebody serviceable. Now, whether that's Jalen Malone, whether that's the kid they brought from Notre Dame, we'll see, all right? I do have Notre Dame getting in. I think this is a quarterback-driven college football league. Sam Hartman, this is year 2 of former defensive coordinator turned coach. If they can win 2 out of the 3 between Clemson, Ohio State, and USC, they're in as a one-loss team. Because I don't have anybody from the ACC getting in. I don't have anybody from the Big Ten getting in. I have USC getting in.
I think Clemson could be sneaky good.
I don't trust Klubnik.
I'm not ready to throw Dabo out yet.
They have not been as good
No.
since last year when Coach Brent Venables left to coach Oklahoma.
Since Watson got in trouble, I think it broke the franchise.
I mean, they look great with T-Law. Come on now, with Jennifer Lawrence.
They did. I'm just kidding, man.
Can I give you a sleeper?
Yeah.
Utah. Listen, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody because I'm not. Listen, me, you, and everybody watching, do not tell anybody. Utah is my sleeper. They could be this year's TCU. They could just go quietly do their business. All they lost was Dalton Kincaid. Like they're returning a ton of guys, and if they can make it through this crazy gauntlet that is the last 5 games of the schedule, where they play USC and Oregon and Washington, if they can make it through there, a one-loss team, we're going to be talking about Utah should be in as a one-loss Pac-12 champ.
I think Washington's going to be a good football team. That's going to be a tough 5-game stretch for Utah.
I just don't trust the coach. I haven't trusted their coach since Peterson left. They should have won more games last year. Yeah, they didn't. Let's finish up with a 3 and out. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do a 3 and out.
3 for 3, 3 and out. Let me go ahead and give you a couple quotes and see if we agree with who said them. Right.
Yeah.
ESPN's Mark Schlabach said, Sanders, Dion, Coach Prime, aka that dude, Sanders and his staff tried to trade out of beans and frank ingredients for beef Wellington overnight, but it won't make much of a difference. It wouldn't be surprising to see TCU hang half 100 on the Buffaloes at the September 2nd opener. Do we agree with Mark?
So I agree that I think Deion's trying to make a miracle out of, I don't know what to call it, right? So I think he's stretching it too far. I don't expect Colorado to be great this year. I expect them to be decent. I don't expect them to be great. I think 5 or 6 is probably formidable for them.
Okay.
TCU may have 100 on the Buffaloes, man. So do I agree with Mark? Yeah, I think I agree with Mark. I think Colorado was a horrible team last year. I don't think Deion can make that big of a difference this year. I hate to eat my words with Deion Sanders, though.
I agree with Mark.
Yeah.
I think Deion was talking about changing culture, right?
Yeah.
He wants winners. It's not going to happen overnight. I think Deion is a lot of sizzle, not a lot of steak.
I agree.
I think he should have stayed at Jackson State. I get why he left. I would have left for a bigger job because I think he's going to struggle in Colorado. Speaking of struggle, the struggle is real in Michigan, right?
Yes.
The struggle is real. Listen,
yes.
Jim Harbaugh, you're gone the first, 3 games?
Yep.
3 games he's missing. So let's look at his strategy and see if we agree with Harbaugh's head coaching strategy. 4 assistants will split head coaching duties during Harbaugh's 3 games absence. Defensive coordinator Jesse Minter versus ECU. Offensive coordinator Coach Sharon Moore versus Bowling Green. And against UNLV, he's going to go half and half. Special teams coordinator Jay Harbaugh, wonder how he got that job, will be the team's head coach in the first half. Running back coach Mike Hart, shout out Mike Hart, former NFL player, will take over at halftime. Do we agree with his multiple head coach strategy?
I do not. I think consistency is important in football. But you know what? You want to give Jay Harbaugh a chance to coach? Best way to do it? Well, let's probably change it 4 or 5 times, right? Not make it look so suspicious. So, no, I do not agree, though.
I love that. I love that so much. I think you're absolutely right. I hate the strategy. Anybody who's coached any level, what we say, hey, it's one voice. It's one voice, one goal, right?
Yeah.
He should have just named an interim head coach. Instead, they're playing musical chairs, right?
It's going to be
that
wild.
Being said, they should be able to boat race all those teams. I mean, if talent wins out, if talent does win out, they should be able to. I don't care if Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, or the ghost of Bear Bryant is coaching them, okay? They should be able to boat race. So I don't agree with Harbaugh's strategy. Last one. Let's get a little money going, right? According to DraftKings, 94% of the bets are risking their money on the SEC team, any SEC team, to win the championship. Do we agree with the public money on DraftKings?
Yes, Georgia, Alabama. How do you not? I'm taking 95% of my money and putting it there if I had to.
I don't know how it's not an SEC team. Georgia, Alabama, like you said, LSU. Brian
LSU.
Kelly.
We haven't even talked about LSU. They're gonna be good this year.
Listen, every 10 years, LSU wins a championship.
Yeah.
Auburn, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Kentucky, like you said earlier. Listen, be smart. Just bet the SEC against the field. Okay? I think they've won like 11 out of the last 12 championships. Just bet SEC or against the field. Okay?
I feel really bad that we haven't spoken about the second best quarterbacks alma mater the whole night that we've been on here. The NFL's second best quarterback is Joe Burrow.
Oh, I thought you were going Dak Prescott, Mississippi State.
No. Joe Burrow, with LSU.
Ohio State.
We did, yeah, okay.
Joe was Mr. Ohio football, right?
He was
went
Mr.
to
Ohio. Yeah.
He couldn't beat out anybody, so he went to LSU.
And they had the best quarterback year ever.
It's going to be a fun Labor Day weekend. All right. It's going to be filled with college football games. Is there any one game you're looking forward to? Listen, you got Utah and Florida. You have Florida State and LSU. That's probably the big game of the weekend.
That's the marquee game in week 1. And that's going to tell so much because you have so many people that are going like, hey, Florida State's going to be surprisingly good this year. And then you have so many people being like, LSU could, they're still a good team and they're bringing back some players. And so that's the one I really want to see. That's the marquee matchup.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm looking forward to. But I'm not sleeping on Neon Deion against TCU. I am going to watch that Colorado team, and I am going to be cheering for TCU the entire time.
Travis Hunter not only has a podcast now, shout out Travis Hunter.
Shout out.
Colorado is going to be they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun. You got Sanders at quarterback. You got Sanders at coach. You got Travis Hunter. I'm excited to see him.
It's an entertaining team. It's an entertaining week. Listen, that's it for us.
You know what else happens next week?
Yeah, I know what happens.
Do you know what else happens next week?
I know what happens this weekend.
Yes.
We got a fantasy football draft.
We have
a fantasy football draft, baby. The homies, we're back together, baby. Back together like we never left.
I hope you get number one pick. I would encourage you to pick somebody like Austin Kincaid.
I will say
Dalton Kincaid.
Austin Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid. Any Kincaid.
What was the guy? Man, why can't I think of the little guy punt returner's name from St. Louis, and then he played in the Rams, and then went to Dallas.
I'll say this: if I get the first pick, mark my words, I will not be picking Justin Jefferson.
Really?
Just so everybody knows.
Are you going Christian McCaffrey?
I will not say who I'm picking.
Are you going Austin Eckler?
It will
Jamar
not be
Chase. Just
Justin
tell me
Jefferson, and I will say this: it won't be Jamar Chase.
You're going running back. You have to be going running back.
I don't know. There's a wide receiver I really like who's going to have a really big year. I'm not going to say who. I will say it's not Jamar Chase. I will say it's not Justin Jefferson.
Will you say it's not Tyreek Hill?
I will not say any more. So we have that. If you give me the first pick, I will tell you who I am picking. But it's all random.
No.
It's all random.
All random.
So, I'm sure we'll chop it up, let you guys know at home who got what, where, when, and how.
Excited, yeah.
We got some fun college football games, and then it's on to the NFL, where Podfather is going to make his predictions for week one and give you guys some good bets.
What's next week look like? Is it a quick college football recap and then getting into week one preview?
So next week, we're going to have, again, Teach's Classroom. So I'll be going over 3 major points, talking about college football, just a recap, what's going on, some Heisman hopefuls. Then Podfather is going to have his Podfather predictions, where he tells you where the money should go for week one, NFL stories. And then we'll see. Craziness can ensue.
It can.
All right. So for Podfather Alex Gullett, I'm Paul Teach Nelson. And with you at home, we are 3 for 3.
3 for 3.